Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves.
It is finally here, Minties. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And it is my absolute pleasure to give you your first look at the Micronauts, the original Marvel Years Omnibus Volume 1 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on April 16th or 17th, depending on where you get your books. And yes, there are 4 covers. And no, I'm not going to keep them all. I'm just going to keep the one I opened, and I'm going to be giving the other 3 away to 3 different people that are subscribed to the channel and have been following me for a while. I'm not putting giveaway in the thumbnail or in the description of the video or in the title. This is for the people that have been watching my channel. All you wonderful minties that have made this such a wonderful blessing. So yes, I am just keeping this cover right here, the Michael Golden cover, which is one of the direct market covers. So let's go through each and every one of these. We have our standard edition cover here. This is the one that's supplied by the legendary Dave Cockrum. We have the first direct market cover here. This is the one that's supplied by Michael Golden, who did the first 12 issues and a lot of the character designs for the book. This one here, the third one, is supplied by the legendary Steve Ditko, and that is the cover to the first annual. And then you have the other direct market cover. And that one there is supplied by Butch Guice. That's from the special edition number 1. Every one of these has a different spine. And this one here actually has the most different design because it is a wraparound cover. Again, being a direct market cover. So let's look at the different spines with the different characters. But first, Marvel Omnibus, the Micronauts, the original Marvel Years, Volume 1, Volume 1, Volume 1, and Volume 1 right there. You have Bill Mantlo, Michael Golden, Howard Chaykin, Pat Broderick, Steve Ditko as the creators. But each of the spines have different characters, have different members of the Micronauts. So you have Arturus Rand right here. This is for the standard edition cover by Dave Cockrum. You have my dude right there, probably my favorite character when I was a kid, Ak Royer, and in the direct market cover here by Michael Golden. You've got Princess Marie, or Marionette, right here, and that's found in the Steve Ditko direct market cover, and Bug right there in the Butch Guice direct market cover. Again, this one here having a wraparound spine, so looking the most different out of the 4 different ways you can buy the book. The back of each of the books, every one of these looking identical, with, again, the exception of the wraparound cover over there. And this is the only one that I've opened because I want people, the winners, to open these up themselves. So I'll be telling you how to enter in a little bit. Everything underneath the dust jacket should be the same. And I thought about, well, let's open up another one and make sure. But I was like, you know what? Pretty sure just by looking at these, they all have the same kind of star pattern. They all look the same. So let's look and see what's exactly underneath the dust jacket. So you do have the star patterns, that is true. Captain Rand down there. And then what is this right here? What could that be? Well, it is something important that I'll be talking about here in a little bit, as well as how to enter the contest. So make sure you keep watching. So since everything is the same underneath the dust jacket, I'm just going to crack it open, and you have a little bit about the creators right here, and the 2 Biotron and Microtron that did not make the spines of the book for this round. Maybe the next round. The bio on the creators on the right hand side, and a little bit about the main cast of characters. Wait a minute, Biotron and Microtron aren't there either, but Baron Karza made it, including here. This, by the way, why I went with this, it's because Michael Golden is, to me, the guy that drew Micronauts, and it's the one that I remember trying to find issues when I was a kid. Basically because my introduction to Micronauts was the X-Men Micronauts miniseries. But this is also an unused cover to issue number 1. So I thought, oh, well, if it's Michael Golden doing the first year of Micronauts, then I definitely want that cover. And that's why I decided on this cover. But good luck to the people that will win any of these 3. Alright, we're going to crack this open, talk about the stories, show off this beautiful artwork, and to some of you, this will be a look back at a time that has come and gone. And to others, this might be the first time you're looking at Micronauts, or even hearing anybody talk about Micronauts. Alright, let's go ahead and crack this omnibus open. You have some black end sheets, and you have, I love the design of the book, by the way. You have this title page right here, including the creators, and the design carries over throughout the whole book, including these colors that you're going to see through here, right here. Actually, if you look at the book right here from the pages inside, that pattern sticks throughout the whole book. Thought that was a really interesting pattern, but it matches so well and kind of brings the whole thing together. And sorry about this. This is from Marvel Comics over here, from Hasbro, special thanks over here. And then you have some key players up there. And this is your credits. The writer and storyteller, Bill Mantlo. The pencilers, Michael Golden, Steve Ditko, Howard Chaykin, Pat Broderick, Rich Buckler. Inkers like Joseph Rubinstein and Bob McLeod, Al Milgrom. Steve Ditko doing his own ink sometimes. And those are just some. And then you have letters like Tom Orzechowski and John Costanza. Your colorists like Glennis Ween and Francois Maudy and Carl Gafford. There is some uncredited work here, but they're credited as Doc Martin. And then your editors at the time, Mary Jo Duffy, Danny Fingeroth, Al Milgrom being your main editor until Louise Simonson takes over the book. And your table of contents letting you know where you're going to find each of these issues and what year they originally came out and the title of each of the issues. There is a wonderful introduction here by Chris Rial, who did the introduction for the Romnibus, the very first volume. And he was pretty much, or it started off as the chief creative officer at IDW. But here he gives you a history from the Micronauts. So let's talk a little bit about that. The Micronauts started off as a Japanese toy called Microman. So in the country of Japan, these smaller size scale toys, kind of like the size of a G.I. Joe action figure. As a matter of fact, there are ties between Microman and G.I. Joe, but I'm sure there's video essays on that everywhere. So in 1977, the Christmas of 1977, Bill Mantlo's kid ended up getting some Micronauts toys, as that's what Mego was calling the Micronauts here in America, because they weren't going to call them Microman. So Bill Mantlo looked at these toys and thought, well, that seems pretty cool. Are there any stories or back stories with these characters? Or maybe I could write some. So what he did was pitch the idea to his editor and to take it over to Mego so they can get the license for the toys. Now, this wasn't unheard of because Marvel was also doing the Star Wars comics, which at the time was licensed over to them. So Jim Shooter teamed him up with Michael Golden, and together they came up with this world. Of course, Dave Cockrum doing some designs. There were several other people that did designs, like Bob Hall, which you'll see some of the artwork here. And that idea launched Micronauts in 1979 when they did get the license. And it went all the way to 1986, but Marvel lost the license in 86. After losing the license, it wasn't until the early aughts that Image Comics got the license, and then eventually Devil's Due got the license, and then IDW got the license. But for the first time ever, these stories are now collected in an omnibus form, in any kind of collected edition. It has come out with a facsimile edition. This came out last year, and it even has the house ads in here if you collect facsimile editions. But for the first time, these stories are collected in one place. And that is the quick history of the Micronauts. And I'm leaving out so much. And I strongly suggest reading this amazing introduction here by Chris Rial, giving you the history and things even I didn't know. Like, I didn't know why Karza was named Karza. And that little tidbit of information just blew my mind. There's not a lot of spoilers in there, so if you've never read this, don't feel like, oh, sometimes they spoil things. A couple little minor things, but I mean, the book came out in 1979. Nothing big is spoiled. So for the first time ever, it's my absolute honor to get to say that this collects Micronauts 1 through 29, the first 2 annuals, and material from Micronauts Special Edition 1 through 5. The book retails for $125, and it has 744 pages. Now, the material from the special edition, those are just reprints with a couple of extra pages. Most of them are covers, but the couple of extra pages are all collected in the back. They're not intertwined or put into in the middle of a story. So we kick it off with issue number 1. So what's the big deal? What the hell is Micronauts about? You've heard enough people talk about it. All right, so Micronauts. The story in the comic book is about this place called the Microverse. And part of this Microverse is this planet called Homeworld. And Homeworld is where Karza, Baron Karza, this guy that kind of looks like Darth Vader, probably why they were able to pitch this to get the license so easily, is ruling over these people by making promises of immortality to a lot of the population. Now, he's ruled over these people for lots of years, and he's getting rid of the royal family. There's a couple of members that are left from the royal family, including Princess Marie, who you'll know as Marionette, that's what the Micronauts call her, and her brother, Prince Argon. Both of them from Homeworld, and the only survivors of the royal family, which has been slaughtered. Here's Microtron, who will play a big part in the Micronauts. Now, the other big player besides Baron Karza and the princess and the prince is this man right here. This is Commander Arcturus Ran, who has come back from space. By the way, I don't know if people say Ran or Ron. I've always said Ran, but then again, Acroyear is something I've always said. It's not like I've always called him Acroyer, but Acroyear. I have a hard time going back to Acroyer, by the way, but thank you all that corrected me. I never had the toys. But Captain Ran has come back from space. He's been in space with Biotron for 1,000 years, and his whole lineage has been killed. And you learn here that Karza has killed his mom and dad. And he immediately gets thrown in prison, where he meets Bug and Acroyer. And this is where things get really interesting. Bug is like your Spider-Man type of character. I hate to say that because he's a bug. He's like a wisecracking type of character. He's a thief who is an not an insectoid. It's like a insectivorid or something like that, who comes from a planet called Caliclac. And he does say tick in between sentences, and every freaking time I read that, I have to say the word tick, no matter how many times he says it. And Acroyer, he's this guy with this giant sword that you'll see a little bit later, who's kind of like your big, strong character, and has a huge ties to Baron Karza. And this guy right here that's sitting down next to Karza, and that is Shatan, I believe is how you pronounce it. Because if you mispronounce it, boy, it can sound a lot worse. But Shatan is also kind of overseeing this with Karza. Karza being like your main bad guy, and Shatan kind of playing the almost like a right-hand man. So the whole thing is to try to kill off the royal family. They end up kidnapping the prince, leaving Princess Marie alone. So while her brother Argon, that you think is dead at first, but then they're like, oh no, he's still alive, she ends up joining this team that is put together by Ron, and together they jump on on his spaceship, the Endeavor, to take off and swear an oath to destroy Baron Karza and his entire army. And this is when things get really interesting, because, you have all these dog soldiers that are after them. They escape, and in issue 2, but here's a little bit of background on some of these characters. See, that's how you spell it. Shaitan. So I gotta be really careful how to pronounce that. But in the second issue, what ends up happening is they get stranded on Earth. And this is when things become really interesting because they are micro-sized. So they are the size of toys. And this is where they meet Steve Coffin, and his dad, Roy Coffin, who is an ex-astronaut. And they end up getting mistaken for toys. Steve doesn't know what exactly they are. His dog doesn't trust them. And they get a little bit separated. Now, there's someone else that has been going around kind of giving them hints as to what to do. And that is this presence known as the Time Traveler, sometimes calling themselves the Enigma Force. And for the first 6 issues, they are stranded on Earth, where you get to meet a lot of different characters. One of the characters is Professor Prometheus, who plays a big part in like experimenting on these people. Eventually, Baron Karza makes it to Earth. Now, what is not known at first is, are they in the 616 universe? Not that people were thinking about that back then, but I'm sure most people that were reading this were like, well, where's Spider-Man? Where are Marvel heroes? Because none of them seem to be appearing through here. Prince Argon does go through some changes, and I'm sure as I'm flipping through here wondering, wait a minute, sometimes Baron Karza is a centaur, sometimes he's a humanoid. What is going on through here? This is Slug, by the way, another key character to the Micronauts, who will play an important part. Letter pages are intact through here. I need to get to this next issue, because something important happens in this issue in between issue 6 and 7. The most important thing to me, I thought was cool, because I love reading the letter pages, is the big shout out from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Okay, that's cool, but not as cool as Kurt Busiek. That's right, Kurt Busiek, who will end up writing comics later on, like Astro City, or Avengers, or working for Marvel and DC, wrote a letter talking about, hey, Micronauts, it's not hitting it home yet. It's not doing it for him. Now, in issue 7, it is revealed that they are, in fact, in the 616 universe, because we have the appearance of Man-Thing. Man-Thing isn't the only character that appears through here. Again, this Enigma Force, or this Time Traveler, is kind of showing them where to go. Again, and they're still trapped on Earth. Something happens to Steve's father that makes for a really interesting turn of events. And keep in mind, these characters are micro-sized when dealing with Earthlings, or sometimes dealing with other aliens, because they're all part of the Microverse. Now, issue number 8, I completely forgot about this, is the first appearance of Captain Universe. This character right here. This is the first incarnation of Captain Universe. And that's so freaking cool, because I had forgotten that he appeared through the pages of the Micronauts, because I haven't read this stuff in decades. I mean, it's been at least 20 years. I think I sold my Micronauts. No, that had to have been before 2000. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I sold them long before 20 years ago. So it is so amazing to look at the stories again, almost for the first time reading these stories, but really rereading them. So eventually they do make it back to Homeworld. They do make it back and, try to defeat Baron Karza. You can find out exactly how that battle ends. Again, all the letter pages are there. And the reason why you're seeing sometimes Karza as a centaur, Argon as a centaur, is because of these things called the body banks. That goes back to the first issue, and it really is to tie it into the toy line, right? Because the toy line had replacing body parts. But man, there's a dark origin as to what exactly they're doing. And there's Slug, again, who will play a big part in here. So I mentioned some of the key players, right? Like I've mentioned Biotron, I mentioned Akroyer, I mentioned Captain Ron, I mentioned Marionette and Bug and Microtron. But there are other characters that eventually appear through these very pages. Some that you're about to meet, like Jasmine. And eventually, maybe the Fantastic Four play a part in this story. Now, after the first 12 issues, after the big story arc gets wrapped up, we do have the annual. And in the first annual, we have some stories that tell us what these characters were doing right before they met. Like Ron himself with Biotron and how close they are. You can find out exactly how he's able to talk to Biotron, even though he's in a suspended animation And you get some interesting characters through here. This drawn by Steve Ditko, by the way, this entire annual. You find out exactly what happens to Marie and Argon's family. And then the Time Traveler, how Bug and Akroyer end up meeting, and how exactly they were sold out. Bug does get a couple of solo issues in here where you get to find out more about him and Jasmine, who will end up joining the Micronauts. And let me see, there's the Psycho Man right here. And when you have the Psycho Man, you know you're going to have a team up with the Fantastic Four. Another character that ends up joining the team is Cilicia. Now, after issue 12, Michael Golden ends up leaving the book, but he does supply a lot of the covers. Howard Chaykin does some of the issues in between the transition phase, but it's Pat Broderick that comes in. And I'll be honest, after Michael Golden left, I was like, I don't know. Ant-Man does make an appearance through here, where we also have characters like the Plant Man. But Pat Broderick really, really brought it. Like, his stuff is freaking awesome. I don't remember his art looking like this. Honestly, there are times that I actually enjoyed Pat Broderick. I know this is going to sound blasphemous. Pat Broderick's art more than I did Michael Golden's artwork. It's just, maybe it's the way it's restored. It just really looks good. And yes, Plant Man. There's characters in here that at first I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like Mentalo and the Fixer or Plant Man. There's a couple of other characters. One in particular in the final issue here. Now, all of this is leading this, I didn't mention who exactly that is, but that is Cilicia. And Cilicia is Akroyer's lady, if you will. His lady that he's supposed to be married to. And I am going to say some characters don't make it out of here. Now, starting with issue 21, we do start getting these backup stories called Tales of the Microverse. And unlike Tales of Asgard, Tales of the Microverse take place while the Micronauts are having adventures on Earth or having adventures in space. Things are happening in Homeworld that are going to come to play later on. I thought that was a nice addition because instead of breaking up the story after a couple of pages, you don't have like an interlude of what's happening in Homeworld. You actually can read about it in the back. And there she is, Slug right there. And not a lot of her in here. Now, she does end up playing a bigger part in the second omnibus. Now, this is the map of Homeworld, which we saw at the very beginning, which, of course, this is based on right here. But you can find it in the pages of issue number 24, along with Tales of the Microverse. And again, this pattern on the cover, because you do have a frame around the cover. Win a Toys R Us shopping spree. Yes, just like in my Uncanny X-Men 137. Rich Buckler doing the first 7 pages here in the annual number 2, and Steve Ditko doing the rest of this particular issue against the Toy Master, who has a little bit of a twist with him. But yeah, there's just something special about Pat Broderick's art in here. I guess it was because I was expecting Michael Golden, because I've always been a big fan, to just blow me away. But yeah, I'm glad that I hadn't read this in 20-something years, so this brought back a lot of memories, especially those first 12 issues, and a lot of like, I don't know if I've read this or not. You know, you ever read something so long ago you kind of forgot about it? So it was a really nice reminder of how fun these stories are. Almost, honestly, I will say like the first issue really felt like a European comic. Like I was reading the beginning of the Incal in a way, and I don't know if I'm probably the only one that felt like that. Just meeting all these new characters and getting thrown into just how this fast-paced the story is. Nick Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D., and Hydra end up making appearances through here. Now, let's look at the extras in the back, because we've talked about the letter pages, but let's look at the back matter here, such as the concept art by Bob Hall. And of course, I have to talk about how you can enter the giveaway. You have house ads. And more house ads, like the Micronauts are coming. The house ad here for issue number 1 and the original art right there by Michael Golden. And then you have other house ads right there. And this is the unused cover right there, which they, of course, used for this particular cover of the direct market. Micronauts corner box art, original artwork here, which I know Michael Golden has done, or they've done at IDW, the artist edition of Michael Golden's Micronauts. So some of you probably have seen a lot of the stuff in here, others have not, since that book is out of print. This is the special edition right here, which reprinted the Micronauts, but in a thicker format. By the way, this isn't just the camera. Like, that is a very, very light color right here of the unused cover pencils by Butch Guice. And then your special edition covers in what it reprints, like issues 3 through 5. Sometimes, because they had to add things in there, they added some splash pages that were drawn by Butch Guice. And then this crazy magazine back cover parody of the Micronauts by Larry Hama and Michael Golden. All right, let's look at the binding. 744 pages, and it is sewn binding. This one printed at the iMac printer. But I will be honest, the paper stock seems thicker than what I'm used to the iMac printer having. Not like from even a year ago, it seems thicker. Don't get me wrong, there's still minimal bleed through, but we've seen that, I mean, even in Donnelly printer or Mega printer books, but not as much as before. All right, I think I've talked enough about the history of the Micronauts, shown off a lot of the artwork, talked about the stories of the Micronauts. How can you enter the contest? Well, all you gotta do is be a subscriber, hit that like button, and you can enter from anywhere. You can enter from overseas. You can enter from America. I don't care where you live. I will be shipping it out. I will be paying for shipping. It is my just little way of saying thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for giving me this platform to talk about these wonderful stories that made up my childhood and brought back a lot of memories. So thank you all. All you have to do in the comments section, and you can just leave one comment, please, is tell me what your first Micronaut comic was. And if you didn't have a Micronaut comic, you've never read it, just tell me what your first comic book was. That's it. One entry per viewer, please. And good luck, everybody. I will leave the comments section opened and this contest open until Friday, April 12th at midnight Eastern Time. So please keep that in mind. You have the rest of this week to enter and leave your comment down there. And good luck. Seriously. But that's it for me. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book with any of the covers, please don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below which cover you are going to pick up. And if you've never read Micronauts, if you've read it, what you think about it. And as I mentioned, there is a contest, so make sure you write in the comments what your first comic book was, or what your first Micronauts comic was. Good luck, everybody. Entries, again, are opened until Friday, April 11th at midnight Eastern Time, and I will announce the winners on Saturday. Good luck, everybody, and thank you so much for being a huge part of the channel. And a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us all 4 covers. Any questions, leave them down below. Smash that like button on the way out. That's it for me, everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe out there. Much love.